Also, there's a meme like with Blaber with the grabs, and now because I play versus him, I don't know what happened, but every time like there's a grab, and even the lanes that don't have push, they just find man there, Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. I feel like we should be winning this grab, and then just five man appears, and then we fight for a grab. It's so weird, but
the Avengers teleport
yeah. Actually,
That's
it's
funny.
I don't know. It's so crazy.
Hello and welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia Season 9, Episode number 4. And this is a special episode because we are going to have a premiere guest, Oddielan, the LATAM GOAT from Lyon Gaming, is going to join us because he has played with a lot of the players that our teams are going to be playing against in the Americas. So he's going to give us some special insights. Don't worry, we'll coax some strategies out of him on how to defeat,
how to take him down. We'll see where his true loyalties lie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still lie with LATAM.
He's been here for weeks. Surely he's
but
he has land in the name as well.
Yeah. I mean, he originally was a huge Odd1 fan, and so his origins started as North American fan here. So,
but you know what? I gotta ask you, Kobe. If he's a premier guest, can you give me an example of a not premier guest we've had?
We don't have those on the dive.
Oh, we only have premier.
We only have premier guests. I mean, we have a high bar.
That's true.
Or at least I have high standards. Azael has tried to get some riffraff on here before, and I was like, nah, denied.
That guy's not premier. Sorry, you cannot enter. Kobe's just out the door.
Maybe when we have a crash out or something, so the list will get leaked, and all the drama
rejected guests.
Yeah.
The true dive drama. But we are going to Sao Paulo. Kobe and I are leaving. We fly, in basically 24 hours?
Yeah, did you pack yet? We're
hours?
leaving pretty early.
No, I haven't even done my laundry yet.
Yeah, I have to pack.
But let's be honest, it's not that hard to pack.
No, it's not.
Just kind of shove some stuff in there.
I mean, it's not even a full 2 weeks we're going to be there. It's a little bit less. Yeah, because we just have the 2 weekends of games that we're going to go for. Meteos decided he's not coming. You know,
it's kind of messed up, Meteos.
I was supposed to go with Doublelift, but he decided to make a LCS team or something instead.
Yeah, I heard there's rumors maybe even you and Sneaky can coach that team.
Maybe we'll see.
Let people know the news of like who's supposed to be on that team though, because it's kind of big. If Doublelift wants to try and mirror Cage Roll and be the North American
NA Los Ratones.
Yeah. So they've got Doublelift, Pobelter, Biofrost, Spica, and then the unexpected pickup in top lane was TF Blade, which is a bit controversial for sure. Yeah. On the Reddit thread, all the comments were just saying TF Blade because, obviously he's a really good player. He's gotten rank 1 in so many different servers, but also a bit of a hothead, known to be a bit aggressive toward his teammates. So, that might be part of the strategy though, because I haven't talked to Doublelift at all about it. But here's the thing, you want to make a content team, and you
need drama.
A little bit of friction isn't always a bad thing, So, yeah, we'll see. It's definitely not what most people expected, but could lead to some banger content.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's like, well, it's in a different way, but I think people were like, Baus is on a pro team? That's weird, But like, obviously, that's worked out really well, and he's a huge streamer, which was obviously a big part of it. But it'll be interesting to see because I do think genuinely a lot of people, I mean, not so much anymore because, people realized, okay, TF Blade's not going to go pro. But for many years, people were like, why is this guy not going pro? I want to see how he would do. He's so good in solo queue. So I think
now we're going to see why he didn't go pro in the past.
Well, maybe, or we're going to get to see how he actually does, right? Because they can, technically, you can qualify into LCS and get a guest slot, right? So I think that would be really, really cool to see if they do well. I have no idea also, like, how serious LTA North, of course, not LCS. I don't know how serious they're going to actually take this. If it's just going to be like total for fun, if it's going to be like actually, we're streaming our scrims, we're scrimming a lot, we're trying to really improve. It'll be interesting to see what their approach is.
My impression is that they are going to try and make it into the LCS like this. To me,
LTA.
I like LCS. LTA North for sure. But they're positioning it as like, those like, fresh account to challenger challenge, basically. It's a similar thing. It's like, oh, we're making a team and
Open qualifiers
yeah,
to LTA.
our challenge is to make it all the way into the LTA.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's awesome. This is the thing that I've been, wanting from League for so long, and I feel like it's part of the reason why people fell in love with it in the first place.
Absolutely.
Is because of that idea. It's just anybody can become a pro player. The path is there, and obviously, this team isn't a bunch of like randoms. They've mostly all won titles already in North America.
They're gonna have more titles probably combined than any team that's in the actual league right now.
Yeah, but it's very good because for viewership, I feel like over the years we've lost a lot of the most popular players from the league. Right now, when you look at like the most popular streamer in LTA, it's like Bwipo, I think, and to a lot of people, that's like, wow, like that's surprising because Doublelift, Bjergsen, Sneaky.
Those were the big three for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're off doing other stuff. So it's going to be really cool having this content team because kind of regardless of how well they do, it's going to be interesting. Whether you're love watching, hate watching, whatever, you'll want to watch.
I mean, absolutely. And it'll be really cool to see them try to go through open qualifiers and NACL and all this sort of stuff. Like if they can, depending on how far they get. Because like you say, it's like if they do really well, that's exciting to see like some of the old guard come back and show they still got it. But also if they don't do well, it kind of shines some light on some of the players that are, trying to qualify through and like how good those players are. Right. So I think either way, it'll be really, really fun to watch and very exciting news.
I think PewDiePie has been streaming and Scar has been streaming and still playing League also. So I know like in response to Los Ratones, then Dom tried to make a team, the SAC team or whatever to also go versus them in EU. In North America, if Doublelift makes this team, then we could have like PewDiePie, Scara, Shifter. I know is still pretty good at League.
When's the Meteos Sneaky team come back?
They could add a couple.
I don't know about that. I'm a little rusty these days. I'd have to.
You have to brush up.
Have to brush up a little bit, but maybe
It's the challenge part.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been playing as much solo queues I used to for sure, but maybe one day.
It'd definitely be fun. I mean, it's cool to see what they're doing, and we'll find out more in the coming days because this like just got announced or leaked or whatever it was like an hour or two ago. So
yeah, and I'm hyped for it.
Yeah,
that was I think for me the biggest positive from like all the like changes coming into this year is that guest slot and just shining a little bit of light on the tier 2 scene because like you were saying, like you were saying. Even if they don't necessarily do the best, it can give exposure to other people who are doing really well. It's like watch these up and coming players. It's like, if there's an amateur player that's just destroying Doublelift in lane every single game he plays against him, it's like, wow, like who is this guy? Like I want to know more. So yeah, big W. Should be good content for everybody and good for the players as well.
Yeah, it's going to be hype. Mel made the pro debut as well this last week. Has been getting played a bit. Mostly it's been getting banned and stuff. And obviously there haven't been that many games now on the patch. In total, there were 12 picks. And it had 7 wins, 5 losses. Went one as like ADC, bot lane, whatever you want to call it, once in top. It had a 70% win rate so far in mid. Only 10 games though. And it is interesting because this champion is still so divisive. The more I see it, the more I think it's not actually going to be that like super strong in pro or anything. I do think we're going to see it, but I don't think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be more situational. Like for the Reflect is really crazy against like Maokai and Nami and some of these champions that like it's just such an easy answer. But people hate this champion and playing against it. I I was being told that it's like still at something like 75% ban rate in ranked or something. Like, it is crazy. So I assume that they are going to probably try to do some more changes, because anytime something is like that much of an outlier, they usually try to reduce frustration. And I remember the example that I always talk about is Tom Kench. There was a time when Tom Kench was literally the lowest win rate in all roles that it was played in, but it was still something like 50 or 60% ban rate because people just hated it when it had the Devour on basic ability.
Oh my
right?
god, I could not stand that. When they finally got rid of it, it was just such a breath of fresh air. Yumi comes to mind as well, of a champion that could have a 20% win rate, but if there's any pick rate at all, I am mashing that ban button because I just want to have fun, and I can't when some of those champs are in the game. So I feel like, yeah, she's kind of in that category now where, doesn't feel good to play against. I know that I think Froxen made a tweet, either it was like today or last night, about upcoming changes to her. I don't know if they're all finalized now, but like lowering the range and speed of the Q is one of them, because I think the fact that it's so hard to dodge, or almost impossible to dodge if she aims it properly, is really lame to play against. So yeah, I mean, she'll probably need some tuning and whatnot, but hopefully she can land in a good spot.
I actually do think she's really good in pro play if you put her into a poke comp, because every aspect of her kit is really good for poke comps.
Stops engage.
Every single one of the abilities has something, I guess, that you would classify as annoying about it. The Q that you're mentioning that's going to be targeted, because it's instant and it's so long range, like that's your poke right there. But then also, the most annoying thing for pro comps when they're playing poke is hard engage, and the reflect is obviously amazing against so many things that want to hard engage on you.
An AoE root as big as the whole screen.
Exactly. Every single ability, and then the ultimate as well, Azael. Oh, great to have some super long range.
Killing the whole team.
Execution damage.
Against
so,
engage.
You go down every ability, and you're like, this thing is insane to slot into poke comps. And the key Mel games that we've seen so far, spoiler alert for later in the episode, but were from Tinones and dyNquedo. Both of them had really good games on it. The mid laners for Loud and Pain, by the way. We're going to talk about LTA South later with Oddielan. Both of them had really good games with it. And so I think, at least until more changes come out and what they're actually going to do to her, I think it is pretty strong, because there's a lot of other options for poke comps right now, for AD options too, to supplement. So you could have, her plus a Jace, or, Varus or Ezreal, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this champion to me just like frustrates you into inting, like, because you just keep getting hit by Qs, you keep getting hit by Qs, you keep getting hit by Qs, and it's just so annoying. Especially the dot builds, like where people are like, a lot of people in solo queue were going, Blackfire Torch and just straight into Leandries. In pro, I think people are mostly going for Archangels, just like have more survivability, I guess, and maybe they feel they need the tier. But the double dot builds, it's like, you're just dying to items. Like, even if you only get hit by, the very edge of the queue, or you instantly move out of it and stuff, it's like double burn applied, scorch, comet, like all these things, and you're just slowly dying, and you're like, okay, you can't hang around, so like forces you into trying to hard engage, but then it's so difficult to hard engage for all the reasons you're outlining. So it's definitely a really annoying champ to play against, and I could see it working in pro, because if you have good setup, like you say, you just slowly whittle them down and take good advantage of it.
Yeah, I think if I was gonna make a prediction on her, which is probably a bit of a hot take, but I think she is gonna be a bait champion before she's an OP champion, because in my experience is she's gonna be one of those champions. Like, I can put myself in the position of a team scrimming right now. Every mid laner is gonna want to play Mel, right? This reminds me of the meta when it was like, people were counterpicking Azir with Xerath, and every mid laner would want to be on the Xerath side, even if he loses every single time, just because the game is so much more enjoyable, right? It's like, I'm just nuking this guy. There's nothing he can do to me. I'm poking him under turret. He's like, fighting for his life to go even in CS, but then he shuffles me once, 30 minutes in, and I lose. But it's like, that whole point up until you lose is just so much more fun for you. So I feel like Mel is going to be the same type of champion where, if it turns out she's not that good, because we haven't seen her that much, but I think when we saw the C9 versus Fly scrims, which is like, most of what NA fans have seen, champs such as Vi are really good against her, because you kind of just go on her and you can't reflect any of that stuff and you die.
Leona as well. Like literally everything for Leona just is a beneficial thing. Can't reflect the alt, can't reflect the Q, and if you reflect the E, you pull yourself into Leona and die.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, with the way that the draft works now, is as long as you're aware of Mel in the draft, you're either gonna ban her, first or second phase if it's a good situation. Like, say blue side's trying to set up for a Mel first pick, and there's like really obvious bans coming out, like Leona, Vi, et cetera, you will just response banner. And otherwise, if she's first picked with good counters up, I think you're happy with that. Or, if it looks like she's going to be good in phase 2, you can ban her there.
Yep.
So I think it's more likely she's going to be a bait pick, but
I agree.
I could be wrong.
I don't even think it's OP in solo queue. I just think it's annoying.
Yeah.
Like, and in pro, I definitely think there are answers, but I think situationally it could be really strong. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see some games where people lose track of Mel a little bit in the draft, and especially in Fearless, right, where you're getting a little bit deeper and people are thinking more about specific matchups and how to make a comp, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, we have like Maokai and we have Lucian Nami bot, and they pick Mel and Maokai ult and Nami ult just flying back at you every single fight.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a Sejuani as well. Like,
yeah, Sej
I'm just imagining myself playing Sej into Mel. It's just like you can't press R until she presses W, or you're just ulting yourself.
Yep.
I had an Ornn in solo queue, and in the pregame lobby, we're all like, "All right, dude, you have to wait until she uses her reflect." And he's like, "Yeah, don't worry, yeah, I just have to wait. Someone just blow the reflect." And there was like 3 critical team fights, and he runs in there, and we're all just like, "Oh, here it comes!" And she gets an extra ult. Basically, it was
and
so annoying.
With the Ornn ones is pretty brutal because you don't even have to reflect the redirection.
I think it's better though. It is better.
It is. But like, I've seen some people try to do that, and then the Ornn just kind of like aims it away from the Mel. Mm-hmm. But like the first part, if you reflect the first part, it just cancels it. It just kills the ult. Ornn doesn't even get a chance to redirect it.
Yeah, it's like the Braum shielding backwards.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, but I agree. If you can, if you can reflect the second part, obviously it's better because it has the knock up and everything. But yeah, it's just like the Ornn ult is so comically easy to stop because you just have to reflect either part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Maokai already too, but that one's just like the most wildly Mel favored interaction ever. Just like reflecting all the roots. So yeah, we'll see how those Mel games go.
Yep, it's going to be interesting. Last Sunday, obviously, we just had the one day of games, but we had the LTA North games from last Sunday. TL took down Shopify 2-0, and then FlyQuest took down Dig 2-0, and then FlyQuest won the tiebreaker. So the favorites definitely did win. Maybe what kind of like stood out from those games for you guys?
Well, I think that Surdy's performance was, kind of rough. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was it wasn't really drama, I would say, but LS
tweet.
Yeah, the LS was making a tweet basically highlighting how different solo queue and competitive is. And then a lot of people were taking that as flame, but then Surdy actually went on Twitter and agreed with him. It's like, solo queue and competitive are 2 extremely different games. And I think there's some roles where it's not as big. I would say probably AD carry and mid has the most similarities between how it works because, you're just mid. Mid is basically the same game.
Yeah.
AD carry is kind of the same game minus lane swaps. And maybe your support's trying to win in competitive, not always in solo queue. But, for jungle, it's super different. It's always been really different. For top lane, it's extremely different. Like top lane is probably the most different because top lane solo queue it's actually like the salty
Jace
Splatoon.
Aurelia runs straight at him all game.
Not even. Like I wish it was Jace Aurelia. It's like Ghost Tryndamere, Ignite Teemo.
That's
like
true.
It is just the cringiest thing imaginable. Like you are getting cheesed any way you cut it in solo queue. And then competitive, it's like Cassante, 3 levels down, lane swapped, good luck. Like you make sure you know how to do this, like really specific strategic play on the map where you're like at the right place at the right time with your TP, etc., or you're out of the game completely. So I think it's definitely one of those things where just because Surdy had a rough series, I don't think that's like a huge reflection on him or anything like that. It's actually just a learning thing you have to go through. especially as top lane, because like there's actually just no way you can practice it outside of going through it.
I mean, for both Dignitas and for Shopify, the two teams that did get 2-0'd, now they just have a lot of time to practice, and that's basically it. Is they all just have to completely focus on everything that you need to convert to pro play. A lot of the different teams have had to deal with different, visa issues, and didn't get much practice time. Blah blah blah. Jumped into split one so quick, and split one was over so early. But the takeaway for both of these teams is just that this is not a break for you. Yes, you're not on stage right now, but this is actually more like crunch time for you. And all the resources should be going into making these transitions and fixing the issues that you're talking about, so that they can come in strong in split 2. Even in talking to some of them, some of the teams are already planning like they're gonna go to Korea, or they're gonna do whatever for their boot camps. But they definitely need to focus everything on like whatever the structure of the practice is going to be. Yeah. As far as the teams that won and are going to be moving forward, and we're going to be casting this coming weekend, I am. I guess my biggest takeaway, and the first thing that came to mind, of course, is the volley bear from UmTi. That's always going to be the thing that I focus on. But it actually, it started out really well, and I was, pleasantly surprised that he was really focusing on the passive stacks so much that he even started on blast cone to get one extra one. Because huge. Yeah, I was like, all right, he's locked in, because you blast going over before camp start, and then his first clear was good, and you always want to go for the invade. He went for invade from red side to red side.
I didn't know if I really loved that play that much.
His bottom lane was pushing, so I did trying to play off the pushing bottom lane.
I get that, but in my mind, it was like, so he's against Wukong, right? Yeah. Blaber has a way faster clear than Wukong, so in my mind, I would have just done Volley's full clear because it's way faster, and then walked into his jungle and contested him around Krugs or something, or at least guaranteed the crab. Guarantee your bot lane can play aggro, because it gets weird when, he did his top side into enemy red, which gives him 4 camps, but then Wukong got 5 with his Raptors and Krugs. And then Volibear has to leave that side of the map. Like, he has to path back up to get any kind of advantage. Otherwise, he's actually behind because he took so much time.
But then what he did is he returned, and he came for second respawns on that red quadrant. So that I actually did like it, because it allowed him to do after respawn, come back and go, like, he stole the Raptors again, and he stole second red again as well, and then continued to play off bottom side. And I was like, perfect. That is like TL's win condition, because TL's bottom lane, to me, Jan and Core JJ have been the best performing players on this team by far, by a lot. So that's why I was like, oh my God, like, he's going to camp the bottom side. He's going to take away second respawns on red quadrant, and then, use ultimate and dive down there and stuff. Then it got a little wonky after that, though. And then I just remember him going for he queues at this Cassante, who is under tower with all abilities up. Like, what do you think is going to happen if you're running with your Q already primed against the Cassante? Is like, there's no world where he does not just W that. Yeah. And UmTi just runs at him and then 100%ed under this tower. And people are like, oh, there's a terrible tower dive. I'm like, that's not even a tower dive. He didn't dive anything. Like, that was he ran in there.
I swear the camera didn't even catch it, because
it didn't?
I mean, not really, unless I wasn't paying attention, but I was looking for it because I think something else was happening at the same time, and it just panned to the aftermath, and it's like a Cassante at his full all-out HP and a dead Volibear under the turret, and I'm sitting there like, what just happened?
That is funny, because I was in the analyst desk, because you were calling out so early. You're like, oh my God, Volibear, Kobe, we need to get a segment afterwards. And I was like, we do. So I ran to the analyst desk and I jumped in the game. So I was looking on the
in-game client.
I was looking on the in-game client. So I was just looking at him.
Okay.
It's probably better that they didn't show it on broadcast then, because looking at it, I saw the whole thing.
He did the cosmic build though.
He did. That's why I was like, oh, it started out so good. Yeah. I liked the beginning from him. It was just later, it's those types of things where you look at it and the play started. They just pushed up the wave, and then it's two of them just staring at this Cassante, and then UmTi just, runs in there with his Q on at a Cassante with all spells. And it's those types of decisions where I'm like, I don't know what he was thinking there, because it's the most basic thing is you're always thinking about what is your opponent going to do, in this situation, right? Like what's their reactions? Yeah. What are their reactions going to be? So I can then play around that. But it's just kind of like, I saw a hero and then I ran at the hero, because we have 2 people and he's only 1 person, under the tower. Yeah, it was, I saw the whole thing. He just ran up with his Q on, got W'd, the W stunned under the tower, and then Cassante all out, and he literally dropped from 100% to 0, and he got 10 damage off on the Cassante. So so I am a little I'm a little worried, because the trend has been, some of these decisions where you're questioning for some TL members. Mm-hmm. So, and them being in the 4th seed after losing the tiebreaker with FlyQuest does mean that they're playing versus Isurus Estral, which is I'm a little bit nervous. I'm gonna say that we're gonna win all 4 of the matches. LTA North is gonna go for
They're gonna win this one the least.
But this is the one that I'm the most nervous for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I do think. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I don't want to feel like it's just piling on UmTi, but he has had a lot of mistakes this split, right? And they do stand out. And unfortunately, last year in a lot of their kind of big moments where they had their almost wins against T1, and a lot of their almost great moments were kind of punctuated by mistakes from UmTi, right? So it is tough. And hopefully they can kind of find that consistency. I know they had an interview with him, and he's basically you guys can't say anything. It's just a best of 3, right? So I could play bad this week, and he said in the interview that but next week I could be the best player in the world or whatever. So at least I was glad to hear that he wasn't just kind of down on himself, because it doesn't do anything for you. It's nothing positive there. So hopefully TL can find some stability. But yeah, I was already a little worried for them at the start of the split, and now I'm a lot more worried for them for sure. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of highlights on UmTi, and I don't know. To me, he's definitely not had his best performance, but I think there's more than that as well.
Their team fighting
right?
is really bad.
I mean, even
APA's
just individual
chase.
performance, right? APA has had some really sketchy Azir moments, some super bizarre stuff there, and Impact got solo killed as Jace versus Cassante against Fudge, and so I don't think UmTi is the only one who's faltering.
Yeah,
I think that the team
as
a whole,
obvious.
Yeah, and I think the team as a whole is just not as untouchable as they were, just because I think most people are still remembering them from last year, where it was the entire split was people just saying how good this team is, and so. Yeah, obviously the expectations are really high, so anything other than the best is going to, not look that good. So, yeah, we're going to have to see if they can get it back together. But I'm kind of in agreement that they're top 4 for me. I don't think they're the level of C9 or Fly right now.
Yeah, and then for FlyQuest, I guess takeaways from their side, they did try some more variations. Bwipo was talking after last weekend, or the previous one, about how Shopify had tried to pick the extra long range into them with their Hui, poke comp or whatever. And then Bwipo was like, yeah, but if you guys aren't as good on those champions, then we're still going to be able to outplay you and stuff. And so it definitely looked like FlyQuest were trying more things than their comfort. So it does make me confident that going into this tournament, they're going to make pretty big improvements within their practice. And I just hope that the same is true for Team Liquid. So I'm hoping the practice is good. And one cool thing is that Team Liquid actually has a facility in Brazil, in São Paulo.
For their Counter-Strike team?
I don't know what team it's for. Maybe it probably is for Counter-Strike.
I think it was.
But they have a facility. And I was watching Josedeodo stream, and he's in the facility. The TL logo is behind him.
Wait,
and
really?
they're playing them later too.
Why was he in there?
Because I don't know. I think they're renting it for practice or something like that.
Okay.
Because Isurus Estral is the
All
LATAM
teams
team.
probably wouldn't have
so
anything else.
So it's actually it's an advantage for TL to have their own facility, of course, down there. So their travel like setup situation should theoretically provide like some good practice. And then it is a little weird that like their first opponent has been using the facility.
Hey guys.
But hopefully both of us.
Steve got the cam, behind
Yeah, I'm wondering that. It's like, they might have a little
Steve's in the walls.
might have a little extra intel.
Yeah, you're like, oh, why are they practicing in there? You're like, oh, well, TL gave them a really good deal for some reason. They're like, yeah, come practice here for free, no problem.
Yeah, don't worry about all that software running in the background.
Why does that camera have a red light on it? That's weird. I wanted to ask you, Meteos, what did you think about the inspired Vi game against TL as our resident Vi hater? Because I thought that he played insane that game.
He did.
I thought he was
Inspired is
absolutely
one of the
cracked.
people who can play it. Yeah,
He's got the Vi pass.
He has the pass because
Who else gets let in the club on Vi?
Owners Vi is really good.
Okay.
And one thing that I notice a lot of them do is, there was this play Inspired made in that tiebreaker that was so impressive to me that I swear, like, every other Vi in NA messes up. It was his first gank bot lane where he was level 6 and he was kind of running up on TL's bot lane when they were like a little bit outside the turret. And, so Inspired has everything. He's got like Q, Flash, and ult. And it's like, how are you going to play that? And I think what a lot of people do is they would like, ult in and then maybe have to like flash out when you blow their flashes. But Inspired just Q flash on them and then forced both of their flashes as the wave's coming in. And then he just backed out. So he took no damage. He got both flashes. And then TL had to back off the turret because there's the threat of Inspired ulting. And so it's like, wow, that was so well played since he didn't even need to use his ult. He didn't take any damage. And he got pretty much the maximum result out of the play. So I think that's the kind of thing where, when people look at Vi, I think they get tunnel vision. What are you cheesing about?
I'm just laughing because we've come to the point where we're like, yay, he did not Vi ult people with full sums right next to their tower. And we're like so proud that people are not
it is because
Vi inting.
So many people are playing Vi. And I think part of it is you let your teammates mind control you, right? Because say you are a laner who's never played Vi, but you play against Vi all the time, and to you, it's like, he just presses R on me, and it's over, GG. So then when you're on their side, you're like, yeah, just press R, dude, just press R, like Q, flash, ult, just ult him, it doesn't matter, nothing else matters, just ult him. And then you go into it playing like that, and you look like a total clown, you're just running it down. And that's not the reality of it, It's like the Jarvans who like flash combo ult, they're like, yo, got in my ult, he's got no flash, oh, I'm dead. So it's definitely nice to see people who are a little bit more controlled with it. Also, the way that Inspired would like reposition with his flash in team fights, that's something I saw Owner do a lot on Vi is like, you go in, you ult, and then you would quickly flash out, and then you can re-engage with your Q later, or you just make a ton of space because it's like when Vi is going in, you cannot ignore her. You have to respond in some way. So, yeah, I mean, it was just super, super good Vi play, which is kind of rare.
He did like all of the things that you're looking for, where it's like he had in the final fight, I remember he had both carries in front of him, and so he's like on the Azir with his Q, but since Azir is right in front of him, he's like, great, I can just Vi ult behind you onto the Ashe instead, and I get knockups on both of you, instead of like doing the tunnel vision, like you're talking about, and trying to immediately just kill the Azir. And then he lets Masu on Corki finish off the Azir, who's at 50%.
Yep.
And he goes on to the next carry, and it's just like those efficiency things, and not tunnel visioning are, I guess, the most important thing in handing out your Vi passes to people.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm the most insane Vi player too. I'm sure if you put me in there on Vi, I would look like a clown too. But it's just, what we see so often from people 100%. On this champion, because it's like, it is really easy to feed on her, and it is easy to, see red and just press R and not think about anything else.
Yeah. I thought it's like both those two plays that you guys highlighted were things I wanted to mention, but the one that was actually the craziest to me was when TL won a fight around mid, and then FlyQuest lose like 3 or 4 members or whatever, and I think they lost 3, and it was him and Busio, I think maybe, or him and Quad, I can't remember. We're the only 2 alive, over by Oddicon. So TL won a fight mid, and then they go up, and he delayed so much. It was actually crazy. Like, the amount of pressure he was able to draw, he was always staying just close enough that they couldn't ignore him and just far enough away that they couldn't actually finish him off. He's forcing out, Cassante ult, and then he's like queuing over the wall or flashing over the wall or whatever. He's constantly re-engaging, going back in when his passive is up to utilize the shield and soak even more damage. Like, he made that play look like this was a position that TL was about to win the game from, to pretty much wiping, I want to say almost all, if not all, of the Oddicon GAs off. And like, that whole sequence I thought was crazy. Like, he played that so well. And the thing that blows my mind the most about Inspired is not that he hits these levels, because you do see some incredible plays from pro players sometimes, but it's that he does it so consistently, right? It's like, yeah, I just thought that game was crazy. That was not an easy game to play out. And TL even got Mountain Soul, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, the game looked pretty bad for FlyQuest multiple times, but they were able to just find ways back into the game, and that was really cool to see.
Yeah, really.
Both Jan and Core JJ afterwards on pros were like, yeah, they messed up. There's so many points where they're like, if we didn't just mess this up, and you can identify multiple of these team fights and multiple of these setups where, it could have been a Team Liquid win, but all of these issues that we've seen from them, you can't just go, oh, what if we didn't, make that mistake or whatever so many times. So for sure, I think it was good from FlyQuest, but it wasn't like they had it in the bag the whole time.
Yeah,
not at all.
No, I mean, I think TL was looking. If your nameplate's off, there was multiple points that game where you would have called the TL win, right? Like, and I would have too. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back right after this with Audie. Welcome back to the dive driven by Kia. We have the LLA GOAT. We've got Oddielan joining us, 5-time LLA champion. And you are here to talk about the LTA South versus LTA North matchups, because obviously LLA teams that joined the LTA South did really, really well. They're first and second seed. So we brought you in to be able to give us the experience against both the North and the South teams.
I mean, I think I know more like Isurus Estral, because there are 4 people that I play with against or in my team. Obviously, I don't know that new top laner, but I think they show really good on this part of the tournament. I feel like Isurus Estral, obviously, I think is a little bit better than Leviatán. If I have to talk about each player, I feel like mid lane is the best role in that team. I think Meteos is just the GOAT, and he always want to get advantage on lane. So I feel like, for me at least, I feel like they're gonna face Team Liquid, I think. I think he's better than APA. I'm just going to be honest. Yeah, I feel like he's better than APA. At least, unless he plays 6. I mean, he's so good with 6 APA. But I feel like the style of Mireo is better than APA. APA style is like a 1-2 roam. I think every time he just want to push the lane and just roam to help the team. And I feel like Mireo is not gonna let him easy lane.
That's actually a really interesting topic, because people have been talking about APA's positioning in team fights and stuff too. When you're scrimming against him, do you think it's what's the easiest thing to attack for him?
I feel like his laning phase. That's why I'm very comfortable. That very I don't know how to say, but I feel like Mireo is better than him. That's what I'm saying. Only laning phase I know, but I feel like his APA is really good at reading the map.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So before we get into all those specific matchups, obviously, you joined LTA North here. You came from the LLA. You even have it in your name now. It's Oddielan, which I think is cool, representing the region. Talk to me a little bit about how your experience has been so far, playing in LTA North, and maybe kind of some of the differences.
Well, at the start, obviously, we didn't have a lot of screens because we have some visa issues. But as soon as we started screaming, I feel like the level of individual players, it wasn't that different, to be honest. But I feel like the macro stuff was really different from my own region. So that's why it caused a little bit me and the support to just like be the same page. But I feel like if we have a little bit more time to just get used to, I think we should show a little bit better on the
Cool.
stage. But yeah, I think the change was pretty good for our region because we really needed to grow up,
Nice.
and I think this is the good step to do it.
Well, we can start with the first matchup is going to be this coming Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific. It's going to be 4 p.m. in Brazil. It's 100 Thieves versus Pain. So you said you obviously haven't played against this team because it is one of the former CBLOL teams, but you've been watching a lot of LTA South as well.
Well, I play versus Spain.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I feel like the best player is
Internationally, I guess, right?
Yeah, the best player is Titan, I think.
For sure.
For sure. I think he's just a beast. He's showing also in the playoffs. I feel like he's the heart of the team. Also with a younger, I think, but he didn't do that well in this tournament. But I feel like if someone has to like be the star, I think it's Titan.
It's pretty funny because he leads the league both in kills and deaths. So it's like, which is pretty rare for an AD carry, but like he is so aggressive.
Like he has more deaths than anyone.
Yes, he's number one in deaths and number one in kills.
That is super rare for AD carry.
Yeah, like
actually.
he is just the most aggressive. Like I feel like whenever I think of him, I think of his Ezreal and him just like shifting in on everyone.
Have
like,
you seen him on Ash?
Yeah,
He has in front of everybody done his skill, and he's just good.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna send you his Tristana game that he played in LTA South. It is so sick. He's like always going in for like double jump executes and stuff, and like then jumping back out. Is like every play is super hype for him. So I mean, yeah, watching them play, he makes it really fun. So I can see why he has so many fans. He's also like he's one that like gets up and celebrates on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I remember him from like Worlds and all the international events. He's a name we've seen multiple times, and yeah, I mean, he's just fun to watch. You know, he's having a good time up there.
Yeah, I think he's really fun to watch, to be honest.
Because we talked to some of the casters and we got some notes and stuff, and they were talking too that there was like a little bit of drama because Seos was like calling out some of the members of some of the Brazil teams, and dyNquedo was one of them. What do you think about their mid lane? Like, Seos was like, yeah, he's a weak player, and like they wanted to attack him. I know that there had been trash talk back and forth, probably Titan started it, and kind of got the aggro going. But what about their mid lane too?
I mean, I don't know about the mid lane, but I know Seo. Like he always want to like show that he's better than the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is gonna trash him,
He'll talk back.
he will talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think he's very confident of his skill. So he always gonna like try to show to everybody like why he's good. But actually, I don't know about the mid laner thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he is stuck and he wants to defend his teammates.
In the games I was watching, a lot of them seem like pretty comp dependent. Because like when Pain was playing against Loud, they drafted this like Nocturne Orianna in the very first game. And then, they just drafted like 3 tanks on the other side and like Azir and Ezreal with dashes and stuff. And so like even though they lost the early game, then it became a lot about comp. So I think it's going to be really interesting to watch the drafts progress in these games as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be Fearless
Yep.
also?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's still Fearless. So for those of you who don't know, the roster for Pain right now is Weiser in top lane. They have Weiser and Curry, who are their 2 Koreans. Curry plays support, and Weiser plays top lane. And they have Carioca, who's a very famous player, obviously. Well, I mean, Pain in general. I think all 3 of the Brazilians are very well known. dyNquedo and Chiton. I think it's Chiton, right? Chiton.
Yeah. It's hard. It's like a T
combination
and a
between-
CH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
Titan.
Titan?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I feel like it's interesting with them going up against 100 Thieves because obviously I think 100 Thieves was kind of a surprise to finish as highly as they did, right? And it was funny because I was hearing from some of the Brazilians that I was speaking with that when FlyQuest and TL, ended up losing. They ended up being really happy that the LLA teams got first and second because they're like, oh, we're dodging FlyQuest and TL because they still were believing that those were the best teams, not actually C9 and 100 Thieves. So it'll be interesting. I think this is going to be a really hype match. Obviously, the Brazilian fans are going to be I think pretty intense for the former CBL teams, trying to cheer them on and see if they could pull off an upset. And it's like, and if I'm looking at, history and stuff, well, we saw 100 Thieves lose to R7 at Worlds last year. They were the first team to ever lose in play-ins for NA. So it's like, I feel like there's extra pressure on the 100 Thieves team because they had that happen to them last year to be able to perform well. But also, it's like maybe the nerves and stuff work in Payne's favor.
Yeah, I feel like can happen, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
they did it last year. I feel like 100 Thief, when we play against them, they didn't play like as good as like everyone was saying.
Yeah.
Because I was talking with some players and they say like 100 was like one of the best or just the best team, but they choke a little bit versus I don't know who they play, but yeah, I think it's gonna be different. I feel like they grew up, the 100 Thief. Like they also be the first team, I think, here.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I think they should win. To be honest, they should win, but I don't know, everything can happen.
I definitely agree. Like I'm pretty confident too, because like not only was like Seos calling out dyNquedo. I mean, I know last year he got Finals MVP dyNquedo, but I feel like Quid has been insane, and I feel pretty confident about like the mid lane matchup. Bottom lane is like the only thing.
FBI was doing really well though.
I know our bottom lane has been smurfing. It's just that Titan makes it like so volatile, you know. And he's more about like taking over the team fights. But I feel confident about all of our teams. So I think 100 Thieves for sure, for sure is gonna get this dub. I mean, you're talking about the bottom lane. Like Ayla also has been playing way better. So
Yeah. I mean,
I feel pretty confident. Plus, or go ahead.
Last year at Worlds, I thought 100 Thieves should make it out of play-ins, but I didn't really have that much confidence beyond that because I thought they were a really bad macro team. And I thought it's like the way that I saw 100 Thieves doing well at Worlds last year was just basically River and Quid being better than their opponents,
yes.
right? I do think 100 Thieves is a more well-rounded team now. I think FBI was a pretty big upgrade in the bot lane. I think Ayla's playing better. I don't think Sniper's had like the best games on stage, but I'd be interested to hear your opinion on him because from players I've been talking to and their coaches and stuff, people are saying they think that Sniper has developed a fair bit from last year. Like he's like, in difficult situations and playing tanks and lane swaps and stuff, he's doing a lot better. So the team does seem more well-rounded. But still, I mean, it's like the stars are clearly, to me, River and Quid, right? Like those guys, I think, are the kind of like heart of the team.
I think obviously for me, at least in the last year, Quid didn't have the best performance.
At Worlds, he didn't know.
Yeah,
he got gapped by Kaney.
Yeah, so also it's gonna be like a pretty well change. I feel like he's better now. I think so, and also like for top lane, I think Sniper. I don't know why versus us, he just locking Casante every time, and just like Summit just beat him like really, really hard. So I don't know. I feel like they play really different against us. But for this year, I feel like FPI, like you said, is really a good upgrade.
Yeah.
The support is playing so well also. So I feel like the key for 100 is gonna be the jungler. I think he should be better than Payne jungler. So and also the mid, if they play like really good, I think there's no chance to like Payne. Who's Payne? Payne?
Pardon?
Yeah,
Payne.
it's Payne.
Payne.
yeah.
Payne's gonna win.
How big are lane swaps? Are they as big in LTA South as they are here? Like
They're lane swapping a lot.
they're lane swapping a lot. Okay.
But I personally thought that the lane swaps was one of the areas that LTA South looked weaker. I don't know if you agree, but like I felt like there's even some examples. Like for example, there was a game where it's like I think it was it the Isurus Leviatán? I think it might have been. But on the lane swap on level 1, it's like here you always see like when. Like the dual lane always steps so far forward and fully zones you from XP, and it's like top laners generally have to give up half their health or more to get the 3 melee creeps for experience. But there was like a number of cases where like they weren't getting fully zoned and stuff, and were getting like into these comfortable situations where like Casante even in like a 1v2. I want to look at my notes, but I think it was. It was the tiebreaker with Leviatán and Isurus. It's like at 9:15 of the game, the Casante had 78 CS and the Varus had 80, and they were laning 2v1 against them. And it just felt like they didn't punish him in a way that I would expect the Casante to get punished here, because usually the top laners are like pretty out of the game, you know? And, you know, there was also, I think it was in the Pain Loud game where they lane swapped and they were kind of playing it different, where it was like Robo was playing Jax and he went mid to share half a level of experience. But then because he was so late to bot, he could never get to the tower. And so, like, there's some of these situations where I felt like the lane swaps were maybe being a little bit misplayed. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like I said, like the weaker thing about us as a region, like, is the macro thing. So I feel like lane swap is kind of harder for us. But I feel like I said, like
Us
they,
as
they
in LLA?
yeah,
Yeah.
but they should know that LTA North is gonna like try to lane swap also.
Yeah.
So I feel like they should be practicing this more. I don't feel like it's gonna be like that same, like you said. Like it's like they shouldn't be this gap, you know. In the,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weaker in LTA South.
It'll be interesting. So definitely feel like 100 Thieves is favored, but I'm still nervous because they got cocky at Worlds last time, and
I mean, it's also a best of 3.
yeah,
So
and it's single limb, so there's no lower bracket.
So it could be over. It could be over very quickly.
Yeah.
I will say though, having them already have gone to Worlds
They're gonna
and
take it
gone
super serious.
through something where they were like, you know, completely underperformed their own expectations. Also, I think that's really good experience and necessary because they were so young, and so they got, you know, the travel experience. Everything like changes. Your whole routine and everything changes. So hopefully, they'll be better equipped to have handle the travel down to Brazil.
I actually feel like, you know, obviously we're not playing against Korean and Chinese teams or whatnot, but I feel like the NA teams will probably look better than, you know, we do relative to other international competitions, just because, you know, when you go to Worlds, you're scrimming against these like Korean teams for like a month or whatever, and you're just losing every single scrim. So I think that's part of why sometimes when they go on stage, you see them look so like bad and scared, because it's like they've tried everything and nothing works, and so they try to fall back on like the safest strategies that maybe they didn't lose as hard on. But, you know, for this one, the teams are just flying down like this week. You're just playing this weekend. So yeah, I think they'll look good.
All right, so we all predict 100 Thieves to win, and it should be the series with the most trash talk. We have Sniper on one side and Titan on the other side. Like, there's definitely going
I
to be
don't know if
some
I
fun.
want Sniper to trash talk after the last time.
As long as he's not
No
typing
more,
in
no
game
more.
and he focuses.
Nah, his 1v1 with XU was not pretty on either side.
And also, I mean, it's like if you go down to Brazil and you trash talk and then you lose, the
Yeah,
fans are going to destroy you.
I would fear for my safety if I was down there trash talking.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one then. We got Leviatán
Who finished second.
versus FlyQuest.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And FlyQuest, I feel like you were kind of talking to Azael about like originally they were kind of happy. Oh yeah, you know, we're gonna dodge TL and FlyQuest because you know, they're going down to the lower brackets. But to me, I think TL actually is weaker. I don't think FlyQuest is actually going to perform, you know, weaker. I feel like they're fixing their issues way quicker than TL are fixing their issues. So I also have a lot of confidence in FlyQuest going into this one.
So Leviatán, how do you pronounce the top laner's name? Is it Zoth?
Sotbe.
Zothbe?
Yeah.
Zothbe? Is that close? You're like,
no, Sotbe.
Zothbe.
It's Sotbe.
Zothbe.
Yeah. Sotbe.
Okay. So there's like no like V sound. It's like Zothbe.
Yeah.
Okay. I could say that. So Zothbe, and then jungler is Scary. Cody, I think is kind of the star of the team in mid lane, and then Sao and Pro Delta. Cody to me is pretty impressive. I know, like, as far as how he performed in LTA South, all the games I was watching, he was playing really, really well. He leads the league, I think, in like a ton of different categories. Like statistically, he's
almost all of them for mid lane. He's first.
Yeah, like he's crushing it. He's first in CSD at CSD at 10, at gold at 10, the highest KP in the entire league, like higher even than any of the junglers, which I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. Second highest first blood percentage in the league, which is also crazy. It's like these are supposed to be jungler stats. He's playing really, really well. So I assume you're pretty familiar with Leviatán.
Yeah. Well, Cody, when I was playing on him versus in LLA, he was like the star. Like we should always focus him because he was the one who can like carry the whole team. So yeah, I feel like this year he come back really strong because he for some months he wasn't playing really well, But now he seems really, really good. He's really comfortable right now with this team. So we know that he can do great stuff. So for mid lane, I think he's just going to be like the key from the Leviatán.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing a lot of like Ari and Talia and Aurora, like roaming, playmaking mid laners, and so that's why he's racked up such good stats. Like roaming around and making plays with the team. So it's definitely a little bit scary, but I feel like FlyQuest are just so solid. In their game plan, I will hope that they'll be able to neutralize, early. And if they don't get behind early, I just have so much confidence in their team fighting. I think they actually match up pretty well.
Yeah, actually, I also want to talk about Seo, like the ADC. I feel like this guy is really crazy. He's so good. I play with him. I know his lane phase is amazing. So I feel like the support needs to a little bit grow up a little bit more. So like if they get better together, I think there's just gonna be the best bot lane, even better than Titan. I feel like I maybe get more Brazil hate, but I know that Seo is really good, so I'm really confident that he can show up in this tournament.
It is interesting because you mentioned the Ari point, and there are mostly the meta is pretty similar, but Ari is so popular in LTA South. It was the most played mid laner, and Ezreal was the most played bot laner. So there were a couple little changes. Rakan super popular. Besides that, it seemed like mostly things were pretty similar, but do you think that's just because a couple key players are really good on those champions? So everyone's Ari looks OP because this guy plays Ari all the time, or
no? I think Cody likes those champions.
Yeah,
in LA he just play Ari, Talia, Annie. I don't know when Annie was or Gragas. His Gragas was really good. So also I feel like it's just more comfortable because I feel like Aurora is one of the strongest, I think, or the strongest for me at least.
Yeah.
I hate playing that first star champion. I feel like there's just one shot.
Really interesting. Yeah, I've heard. I was talking to Pobelter about Aurora, and he doesn't actually like the champion. He feels like she always runs out of damage and can't kill people. But I mean, it's probably different in pro versus solo.
You just blew his mind. He's like, what?
I feel a skill issue.
I mean, I feel like obviously also for me at least playing against John. I like John. I feel like it's so hard also, but for me at least in the mid lane, it's very volatile. I don't know, there's so much that you can win, or for example, you blind pick mid lane, AP mid lane, Galio is gonna be there, and everyone hates playing versus Galio. Even my mid lane doesn't want to blind, and second game draft, fearless, he don't want to blind me because there's a Galio pick. So, I mean, it's really volatile, the mid lane matchups.
I mean, I think Aurora is really strong too, especially with the electrocute buffs. It was one of the champions that was already in the meta. I think that benefited the most from it because it's super easy to play electrocute. You can play it mid and top and stuff as well. So definitely pretty strong. Were you surprised at all that the LLA teams ended up being 1 and 2 in LTA South?
I mean, there was I'm not surprised, but.
Of course not. I knew we would win.
No. It wasn't like that, but. I know that they were really good, but I also feel like the Brazil teams didn't play that well this tournament, at least. I feel like they're playing really weak. But I don't know. There's some rumors that they didn't scrim that much, or they didn't practice that much for this tournament. So for me, the key is gonna be the second tournament. But I'm pretty glad that LLA teams were first and second place.
From the Brazil casters, they were saying they had high expectations, at least for Isurus. They were like, because they have Jose and they have all this star power, but they were more surprised by Leviatán also doing well and getting second. And Leviatán did get the 2 Brazil players, so I feel like they also got a lot of Brazilian fandom that way, by actually signing the double Brazil players. Of course, Isurus with Jose is going to always have fans because it's big stream and everything. But now that you are LTA North, if you're going to give FlyQuest a game plan to attack Leviatán and win this series, what's the biggest weaknesses that you want to expose of your friends?
I don't know if I want to expose everybody, but I feel like the jungler matchup, because I'm the jungler, I feel like Inspire versus Scary.
Yeah, Scary.
Scary. I think I think should be for Spire. I do
Yeah.
feel like he's really, really good. I still don't play against him, to be honest, in screens.
Oh, interesting.
We never play FlyQuest yet. I mean, they wanted, but they wanted to stream it.
No.
So we
You don't want to?
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
Because we were like, it was like the second week when we were still practicing with
Yeah,
the new
yeah.
mid laner. So
Yeah.
we didn't want to practice
No,
that
be more
much.
comfortable first.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like the jungler also Sotbe is pretty decent. I feel like I don't know. Bwipo makes the lane really volatile. Also, I feel like he always tries to like do something crazy.
Yeah.
Like when I would talk with Ligoris, he always say like, I don't know how to play against him because he just. I don't know. He's trolling, or he
Yeah.
has like limit testing or something, or the jungler is behind him because sometimes he feel like he can win the lane. He can play really aggro, but he feel like he's trolling and the jungler is behind. And then when we see in the review, the jungler is bottom, and he is just playing so much aggro. But yeah, I feel like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I feel like also it's gonna be like more the jungler stuff.
Yeah.
For also, if I have to say, like I said at the start, like the support for Leviatán, I think
For Pro Delta?
Yeah, Pro Delta. I think he needs to like get better a little bit more because I feel like SEO was 2v1, 1v2 the lanes. But yeah, I feel like I don't wanna say much more.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the kind of thing I know about Leviatán.
It'll be interesting. I mean, Bwipo, I think one of the advantages he has, unironically, is that it's like you can't practice for Bwipo by playing against anyone but Bwipo. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
because he plays weird champions, he plays a weird style, so it's like he has so much practice playing in that way, and you don't have practice playing against it. You know, so it's like. I do think it can be an advantage. And sometimes, kind of the thing you were talking about with Licorice, I think when a team has like really strong lanes, and if they're confident, in Maso and Busio doing well and Quad doing really well mid, it's like you can play aggressive because even if you get ganked and the jungler's not there, well, then your team's going to get something somewhere else, right? And I think that's one of the advantages you have when you have strong lanes and a really strong jungler is you can afford to play a little bit like more aggressive because you know that, okay, if Inspired's up here, we can 2v2, and if he's not and I die, I'm going to force him to use ults or summoners or something, and we're going to get dragon or we're going to die bot or we're going to do something, right? And I know that's one of the things that Bwipo talks a lot about if you watch his stream is just like getting resources. Like people, it's a meme. Like the whole like making space is kind of a meme, but like also it's true. Like
No, it's real. It's for sure real.
It's like if they gank you and they kill you, but they have to use both flashes and both ults and stuff to do it. It's like, well, sometimes you're just gonna get more as a result.
It's like the boss,
Yeah,
boss
it's a
kind of
good
thing.
death. Good
Yeah,
death.
it's good death. But yeah, I feel like that kind of. Also, I feel like you said, like FlyQuest is really good at trading.
Yeah,
And also,
really
I
good.
feel like teams from LTA South and LLA teams were that good. It was trading. We always want to fight. We always like think we can win a fight, but
Yeah.
the enemy team just gonna like trade, and we just like, oh shit, now we cannot trade. So I feel like also it's like they win out the FlyQuest, I think.
Yeah. FlyQuest is super solid. They're the team I have the most confidence in. I think still just
Really?
yeah.
I also don't know what happened with FlyQuest. I thought they just gonna like be the best team here.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because when I talked to Inspired and some of their coaches and stuff before the split, and one thing he was saying was he felt in the new season that if you fall behind at all, it's easier to lose because it's easier to go like objective to objective to objective, and with Oddielan and stuff, there's like less of that kind of like mid game where okay, it's too early to do Baron, but like so it'll be interesting. It's also the reality is it's like split one is basically like a small tournament, right? They lost one best of 3. And so if this was like in the middle of a regular split, like an 8-week and 9-week split, losing one best of 3, like would that really knock them down that much in your estimation? Probably not, right? So I still think that they're looking good, but yeah, I mean they did at least lose one.
I also think
Go ahead.
that legitimately Cloud9 and 100 Thieves are significantly better.
C9 looked
And
good in their
so
series.
they are like all 3 of those teams I think are very, very close, especially because 100 Thieves and Cloud9 both did long boot camps.
Yeah.
And so like they're legitimately looking really good. And so it's very close at the top of LTA North.
Yeah, I just wanted to like emphasize that point about we've only actually seen these teams play like 2 series or whatever, like in a regular split, especially the beginning of a split. The rankings can be really misleading because it can just come down to like what teams did you play, what meta read did you have? Because a lot of times what we see is a team like could have a really bad start because they just had a wrong read on the meta, but then you see what's working for everyone else and you adjust, and then you could look a lot better. So I don't know. I don't put a whole lot of stock in like the like seeding, I guess, of these teams going into this tournament because it was just such a short like tournament to get there. So I think first, fourth seed probably not a huge difference, at least for LTA North. I don't know about South.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Definitely expecting FlyQuest to win that one, though. Fingers crossed. Next one is C9 versus Loud, which I think should be really hype. Two teams with obviously really big fan bases, and should be a pretty exciting one. That one is going to be the first match on Sunday at 11 a.m.
I mean, this one, there's only one that I'm a little worried for, and spoiler, this one is not the one. So I still, with the way that Cloud9 have been looking, coming off of their boot camp also, I feel like I feel pretty confident here as well, especially with Thanatos lane phase. I feel like his lane phase is so good. They put out a graph worldwide. I think he was like third in CSD advantage and like gold advantage and stuff for top laners.
His laning phase is really good.
Like I feel like he's actually really well positioned to go versus Robo. So I think Cloud9 have like a bunch of areas that they can attack pretty early in the game.
It's Scream versus 69, and also want to say like I feel like they're the best team right now. I feel like also I didn't scream like 100 Thief, but I feel like C9 is really, really good, to be honest. When we play against them in this year, we were a little scared because they were like boot camping for 1 month or 2 months, and we just one scrim. so it was like, oh, well, it's gonna be hard now. But after that game, we just keep screaming versus them. I feel like their macro is really good. Also, there's a meme like with Blaber with the crabs, and now because I play versus him, I don't know what happened, but every time like there's a crab, and even the lanes don't have push, they just find man there, I don't know, it's so weird. I feel like we should be winning this crab, and then just find man appears, and then we fight for a crab. It's so weird, but
the Avengers teleport.
Actually, it's funny. I don't know, it's so crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about Blaber actually, because I always felt like when I was playing against Blaber and C9 is really hard for that reason, because like they've played with a lot of different mids and rosters over the years, but I do feel like they play for jungle really, really well. Like when you jungle against them, it doesn't feel like a 1v1 against their jungler. Like obviously Blaber's really smart. I've always found it hard to predict where he's gonna go. Like it'll seem like there's an obvious play and then he shows up somewhere else. I'm just like, whoa, what are you doing, dude? But yeah, their team also just like, they push, they track you all the time. It just feels hard to do stuff. Like, has that been your experience? Or?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, literally, it feels like it's not never 1v1. There's some times like where the lanes, we help the push and they just don't help Blaber, and that feels like how, like, if they don't help the jungler, they feel really weak. I feel like in that position, we I don't want to say a little bit more, but we usually ahead on early games, but then they just like keep like there's one fight and then the game is already boom. But yeah, I feel like they're really good playing with the jungler. They always they always put ward, they always look for the next play. They're really fast also on that, like trading stuff and like making plays, even though like you don't have like a push or something. They just want to do something. I feel like that's why I feel like they are the best team here.
I think it's also interesting because that's kind of been a signature of the team ever since even back when you were on C9, is that Cloud9 was always a team that like fully committed to plays, right? And like I always felt like that was one of the reasons that C9 did better internationally than some of the other teams, was like they played confidently, they play aggressively. Like if you guys are gonna commit to a 5v5, like everyone's gonna commit. And I felt like that, even though like you said, the roster's changed a lot over the years, I feel like that identity has stayed pretty similar. sometimes to their detriment, sometimes to their advantage. Like we saw the bad end of that, I think, sometimes last year where Thanatos was just kind of getting used to the team. And sometimes, he beat TPing in, they'd be trying to force a play, but he beat TPing in like way too early or too far away, and everyone tries to bail in and save him, and the fight goes super bad. This year, they seem way more on the same page. So I think those fights are working out. And I do think it's an advantage to like sometimes just be, willing to kind of like practice, and force these plays over and over and over and over, because then your team gets really good at it, right? And then you can have the confidence to be able to take a lot of these more aggressive fights and stuff like you're saying, where it's like even if you're winning early game, they just show up and they're ready for a fight and it's really explosive. And sometimes it's like, okay, you earn a gold lead, but like early game gold lead might be 1,000 gold, but if they get an instant kill at start a fight, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, actually, that's what I feel like. So that's why I feel like this year, LTA North, like, I think they really improved a lot. Like at least top 4 is always really good, but I think for this year, Cloud9 is the best.
Interesting. So Loud's team, if you guys don't know at home, is Robo and Tanones are the 2 Brazilian players. They have Wiz as their Korean jungler and Route as their Korean ADC, and then Winsome joined with the new import rules from, I can't remember which academy he was actually playing on last, but doesn't matter. Route, I know, is one of the players that, speaking to some of the Brazilians, they're really hyped about. They think this is like the best import of all time in their region, and they're like really, really excited about how strong he is. I was watching some of his games. Like he had some pretty monster Ezreal games. Like he is definitely very confident. I think sometimes it's like a little bit of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where it's like sometimes he goes too far, and like there was one game I was watching where they were monstrously ahead. I think it was something like 14-3 at 24 minutes, and then it took them, and they had like Oddielan already, and it took them like 48 minutes to end the game because they like went up to the base and he like shifted into the base and instantly died and stuff. But he is really strong, and I think Robo is kind of one of those players where I think his laning phase is not that strong, but he's another one of those guys that is like really confident to start fights, and I think that's kind of like what Loud likes to do, and traditionally I think what a lot of the CBLOL teams like to do, and similar with LA, like you're saying, it's like you guys want to scrap, you like all going to show up, and you're down to fight all the time, and I think that's definitely been like a strength and a weakness for Loud when I watch them, because they do have times where it's like they get behind, but they just like fight their way out, and then they also have times where they're ahead and they could just take guaranteed advantages and like get Soul or take Baron, but like someone shows up and they just take a fight and it goes bad, and then the other team can get back in. So I do think like we're gonna have a pretty bloody series, I think, between C9 and Loud, because I think C9 likes to fight as well. So I think this one should be super entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I do have confidence in Cloud9 snowballing, because that's why I was talking about the top lane matchup early on, like lane phase. I think Thanatos is well positioned there, and then Blaber, when Thanatos is winning lane, I feel like he can play top side really well. Focus a bunch of grubs and try and snowball. For Root, like he was number 3 in LTA South rank for damage per minute. But I guess because one of the teams that was above him isn't going to the Americas stage, he's second of all the teams in Americas stage for damage per minute. So I mean, like if the games like go long and it does get scrappy and there are like back and forth and one team is coming back and it comes down to this like super late game team fights, then it could become a coin flip later. But I do think going into them, the games should look like Cloud9 with early control and then being able to snowball. You mentioned Winsome. I was gonna say, even though he has experience being on Cloud9 a long time ago and FlyQuest as well, I think at least from the games that I watched, he's been making a decent amount of mistakes. Like there's this one Bard game where he like portals into the grub pit. Did you see that one? Yeah. And then he's like, all right, okay, then we flash out. There's nothing to do here. There's definitely been a couple oopsies there, and of course it works both ways. Our players know him as well, pretty well too. So this one I'm pretty confident on. What's your prediction for this one?
I feel like Cloud9 should also win. They should also focus on bottom. I think the route is not like super ahead. I think it should be really easy. I think the team really plays around him. Also, like I said, like you guys said, Robo, I feel like his laning phase is not that good.
No.
So should be pretty easy for Thanatos to just like win the lane. So with all that, I think it's gonna be like pretty comfortable win for Cloud9.
2-0.
Yeah, I'm pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, we have the last matchup is going to be the one you said you're maybe worried about, Kobe.
I'm a little nervous for one of the matchups. I'm still predicting all 4 LTA North teams to win. This is the one that I'm the most nervous for. Audie, I could tell you have some feelings about it too.
I mean, I'm pretty excited that this matchup. Like I feel like it's like the closest one. To be honest. For my experience versus TL, I feel like they're not the best team. I think this top 4, to be honest. So I'm pretty excited. I feel like I
they'll
said,
be playing Isurus for those of you who don't know.
yeah. So I feel like the lanes are pretty same. So for me, it's gonna be I don't know who's gonna win. That's what I'm feeling. I'm pretty proud because I really want like Isurus to start win.
Yeah, for this one, I specifically wanted to ask you because this is Jose's team. For for everyone who doesn't know at home, Josedeodo, very familiar with him. But him versus UmTi was part of the reason why I'm a little bit nervous for this series. So as the jungler, give your jungle matchup analysis here.
Well, I've been gonna a little rough. Like I feel like UmTi is not that good. I feel like that's for me. He's decent. I also feel like Jose is like a really like how to say he's really confident with what he's doing. He also makes a lot of mistakes, but I feel like he's playing decent right in this tournament. So I don't think it's gonna be like so much different in the jungle. What I fear for TL is like the mid lane matchup. But like I said, I think Meteos is a little bit better than APA. On bottom, I'm gonna say something like really hard for our team, but I feel like our bottom, because it's my region now, was my region, they're not playing that well.
TL?
No.
Snacker and Ackerman.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I think they're more better but in this tournament they're not playing that good. I feel like they really need like get better a little bit more in this
I
tournament.
think TL's bot lane is also really
Yeah,
strong.
so that's why I'm a little bit worried. Only that lane because I feel like they're not playing that well, but I feel like they can do it. That's why I don't know what's gonna be the final result on this matchup, but I feel like it's gonna be 2-1. But I'm gonna say for Isurus Estral.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still don't know what's
I mean,
gonna
this was
happen.
supposed to be the like super team. This was the one team I think that people were kind of expecting to do really, really well in LTA South because it's Isurus and Estral like combining forces, and then they got Bertle and Miru as their imports, and so this is a team with big expectations. You know, it's like you said. I think definitely the LTA South fans want at least one of the teams to win, right? And I do think this is potentially their best shot. TL's team fighting, I think, has looked kind of suspect, and UmTi, I think, has been having a rough split so far. He's been struggling with some of the mistakes, and these teams are good. I mean, it's like if you make mistakes early and Isurus Estral gets ahead, I think TL are not going to be able to just like out team fight them, right? So it's definitely one that I'm nervous for as well.
I will say, listening to pros where after the TL FlyQuest match, so of course the TL players were pretty sad. They were talking a lot also about how they're trying a lot of stuff in scrims. It was Jan and Core JJ talking about it. Bwipo was like, "What? You're doing the same stuff on stage?" But Jan and Core JJ were like, "We're trying a lot of stuff in scrims." And so there's a lot of, I guess, volatility in their practice maybe for TL. You're like, oh, it sounds like excuses.
I
huh?
mean, I feel like they're doing the same thing. I feel like when that's why I also mentioned that the 6 wing.
Yeah.
I think when they're out of auction, they just pick 6, and they just try to flex it. I don't know if the ADC last year play 6, but they're just trying to like flex it. But I don't know. Like I think if they're not that champion, I think they're just like the same team than before.
Okay, well, I hope that the intense week of practice that they have is going to bolster Team Liquid. Maybe that's one benefit. Also, I feel like because they've been underperforming, they've been in like oh no, we have to improve mode. And so I hope that the extra focus that like getting losses early will help them improve in their practice.
One thing I'm kind of excited about, for LTA North and South for our teams, as they're going to go international throughout the year, is I do think these kind of tournaments where we're meeting is advantageous, right? Like it's some international tournament experience, right? Like it's not the exact same as Worlds or anything, obviously, but it's an opportunity where you travel, you go, you practice against teams from other region, and you kind of get that like boot camp experience that you would get going to Worlds or MSI or First Stand or whatever. So I do think, for both regions, it's hopefully really beneficial. And, I'm hoping it's like when I think about like 100 Thieves team or whatever, right? If they had played an event like this before going to Worlds last year, would they have done better at Worlds, And so I think it'll be interesting to see, how like the regions kind of like interact over time and stuff, and what teams take away from this event, right? Because you'll get to go and you'll have both our region's top teams are going to be scrimming against each other. And so it'll be interesting to see, like what people kind of take and can kind of learn from each other.
Yeah, I think it's always a great opportunity to be able to go somewhere else and practice, just because, when you're playing against LCS teams, obviously most teams don't scrim the team they're going to be competing against that week. But, even all the teams you're playing, everyone's like kind of practicing in the same pool. So it's less common to see something that's just like totally out of the box. Whereas when you go somewhere else, other regions, like they could have totally different metas, especially with stuff like lane swap, the way they do vision control, maybe certain plays you just hadn't seen before that could be really normal over there. And then even like the responses to those things. So I think there's a lot you can learn from this for sure. Hopefully NA just dominates, but I mean, I'm sure they could learn something.
I mean, for me, it's gonna be like this. Like in paper, it's like North is better than South, like in paper. But I feel like even like if in this tournament like South wins, it's gonna be such a boost for them, like for the next tournament. So I feel like it's pretty good if they win. Also, if they lose, I feel like this more experience for the teams. So it's gonna win-win for me, at least in
for the South.
For the South.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like as a player. But yeah, I feel like it's gonna be like really interesting tournament. I feel like Meteos said, like should we win for North? But I don't want like 100 things to happen. Like they are overconfident, and
we don't talk about that. Okay. Well, one thing we didn't talk about too, though, is the home field advantage for LTA South, because I know Brazilian fans are super, super passionate about their teams, and so they're probably going to be real loud, and that can be kind of distracting when you're playing. It's like when if something goes like exactly, everything that goes wrong for you, everyone's like cheering, and I mean you've got the noise canceling headsets, but like you can tell when a stadium is cheering, right? Like you might not be able to hear what they're saying, but like sometimes if they're really loud, it'll like come through your mics, and like I don't know, like I experienced that when we played against TSM back in the day, because like
TSM,
rest in peace TSM, but they always were the home team.
They're coming to LPL soon. Don't worry. They're gonna
they're the home team no matter what. At least they were.
Yeah.
And so, but I guess the flip side is, when you do beat a team like that, it feels really good to just like hear nothing, right? It's like when they go from cheering really loud to just complete silence.
It's like the Busan library or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It actually feels pretty good when you're on the receiving end of that. It's just like, where you at? So, I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I mean, I kind of agree with what you were saying, though, Audie, like about there's more pressure on the North teams because you're expected to win, right? So it's like the only good result is winning, right? Like, and even if you win, people are going to be like, yeah, you were supposed to win, So for the South, it is more of like it's an opportunity. And it'll be interesting because sometimes I think when people are underdogs, maybe they're going to get nervous with who they're playing against, but some people can really kind of rise to the occasion and just play without any pressure. And that's often when we see teams play their best, right? Is when they can kind of play like full gloves off. Like they know, hey, there's maybe no expectations, but they play like fully aggressive and they play fully confidently. And that's how we see a lot of upsets. So that's why I'm going into this. Like if it was double limb best of 5, I would feel very, very confident. It's single limb best of 3, right? So I definitely think that we're not guaranteed to win all 4 matches by any means. I could absolutely see upsets.
Everything will happen.
Yeah.
To us. I feel like also like that's the beauty of the tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like best of three, like it's gonna be like imagine if Cloud9 loses, it's gonna be like wow, this tournament is like
Why Cloud9? Why not any other NA team?
I don't know because the Cloud9 is the best team, so that's why I'm
True,
saying.
true.
So.
Well, it should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for it. Kobe and I fly out tomorrow to head down and cast, so that should be a blast. Thank you, Audie, so much for joining us. Appreciate it, and best of luck going forward in the next splits. That is going to wrap it up for us here on The Dive, driven by Kia. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of The Dive. You can also check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The Americas stage of the LTA Split 1 playoffs, that is North versus South that we've been talking about all day today, begins this Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific. It is an earlier start time, 2 hours early for all of those days because we're going to be down in Brazil. It is going to be 100 Thieves versus Pain Gaming to kick off that stage. So make sure to tune in. We will see you soon from São Paulo.